నమస్కారం. శంకర్ నేత్రాలయ మీట్ అండ్ గ్రీట్ కార్యక్రమానికి విచ్చేసిన మీ అందరికీ స్వాగతం. ఈ కార్యక్రమ పరంపరలో భాగంగా ఈరోజు మనం కలుసుకోబోయే అతిథి పద్మభూషణ్ డాక్టర్ జగదీష్ షేఠ్. డాక్టర్ జగదీష్ ప్రస్తుతం అమెరికాలోని ఎమోరీ యూనివర్సిటీ బిజినెస్ స్కూల్లో ప్రొఫెసర్గా పనిచేస్తున్నారు. వీరు ప్రపంచ ప్రఖ్యాతిగాంచిన విద్యావేత్త, గొప్ప వక్త మరియు బిజినెస్ మార్కెటింగ్ వంటి విషయాలపై ఎన్నో పుస్తకాలు, పేపర్స్ కూడా పబ్లిష్ చేయడం జరిగింది. వీరి విశిష్ట సేవలను గుర్తించి భారత ప్రభుత్వం 2020లో ఆయనను పద్మభూషణ్ అవార్డుతో సత్కరించింది. అయితే ఈ కార్యక్రమం పూర్తిగా ఆంగ్ల భాషలో రూపొందించడం వల్ల డాక్టర్ జగదీష్ గారి ప్రసంగంలోని కొన్ని ముఖ్య భాగాలు మాత్రమే ఇక్కడ ప్రసారం చేయడం జరుగుతోంది. పూర్తి ప్రజెంటేషన్ శంకర్ నేత్రాలయ యూట్యూబ్ ఛానల్లో చూడవచ్చు. డాక్టర్ జగదీష్ గారు, మా ఫ్యానల్ సభ్యులందరి తరఫున కూడా మీకు స్వాగతం పలుకుచున్నాను. అదేవిధంగా మీ పని ఒత్తిడులు ఎన్ని ఉన్నా కూడా మా కోసం మీ అమూల్యమైనటువంటి సమయాన్ని కేటాయించినందుకు మరొకసారి ధన్యవాదాలు తెలియజేసుకుంటున్నాను. అదేవిధంగా ఈనాటి కార్యక్రమంలో పాల్గొంటున్నటువంటి శంకర్ నేత్రాలయ యుఎస్ఏ వ్యవస్థాపక అధ్యక్షులు శ్రీ ఎస్వి ఆచార్య గారికి, శంకర నేత్రాలయ భారతదేశ అధ్యక్షులు డాక్టర్ గిరీష్ రావు గారికి, శంకర నేత్రాలయ అమెరికా అధ్యక్షులైనటువంటి శ్రీ బాలారెడ్డి ఇందుర్తి గారికి మరియు శంకర్ నేత్రాలయ అమెరికాలోని వివిధ రాష్ట్రాల నుండి ప్రాతినిధ్యం వహిస్తున్న శంకర నేత్రాలయ ట్రస్టీస్ అందరికీ కూడా స్వాగతం పలుకుచున్నాను. కార్యక్రమంలోకి వెళ్లే ముందు బాలగారు, డాక్టర్ జగదీష్ గారితో మీ పరిచయం, అదేవిధంగా వారితో మీకున్నటువంటి సత్సంబంధాల గురించి మా ప్రేక్షకులకి తెలియజేస్తారా?
థ్యాంక్ యూ శ్యామ్. ఈరోజు ఈ ప్రోగ్రాంకి ముఖ్య అతిథిగా వచ్చేసిన పద్మభూషణ్ అవార్డు గ్రహీత, ఎమరీ యూనివర్సిటీ ప్రొఫెసర్, ప్రపంచ ప్రఖ్యాతిగాంచిన వరల్డ్ రినౌండ్ స్కాలర్, ఇంటర్నేషనల్లీ రికగ్నైజ్డ్ థాట్ లీడర్ డాక్టర్ జగదీష్ షేత్ గారిని సాదరంగా ఆహ్వానిస్తున్నాను. ఆయనతో పాటుగా ఈరోజు మా శంకర నేత్రాలయ సభ్యులు, ప్రెసిడెంట్ ఎమిరిటస్, ఫౌండర్ శ్రీ ఎస్వి ఆచార్య, అండ్ శంకర నేత్రాలయ ఇండియా ప్రెసిడెంట్ డాక్టర్ గిరీష్ రావు, అండ్ శంకర నేత్రాలయ యుఎస్ఏ టీమ్ ట్రెజరర్ శ్రీమతి భానుమతి రామకృష్ణన్, అండ్ trustees Dr. Raj Modi from New York, Srini Vangimalla from Atlanta, Dr. Jayasimha Sunku from Colorado Springs, Denver, Meher Lanka from Atlanta, Georgia, Upendra Rajpalli from Atlanta, Georgia, Narayan Indurthi from Houston, Texas, and our joint secretary and today's host, Shyam Appali ఫ్రమ్ లాస్ ఏంజల్స్, కాలిఫోర్నియా. ముఖ్యంగా ఈరోజు కలవడానికి కారణం ఏంటంటే, జగదీష్ షేత్ గారిని ఆహ్వానించి చాలాసార్లు మేము అట్లాంటాలో నిర్వహించిన ప్రోగ్రామ్స్కి రావడం జరిగింది. గతంలో మేము యేసుదాస్ జీ ప్రోగ్రామ్ చేసినప్పుడు వారు డిన్నర్ హోస్ట్ కూడా చేశారు. శంకర నేత్రాలయతో జగదీష్ షేత్ గారికి ఎంతో అవినాభావ సంబంధం ఉంది. అదే కాకుండా కమ్యూనిటీలో ఏ ఈవెంట్స్ జరిగినా అట్లాంటా కమ్యూనిటీలో జగదీష్ షేత్ గారు ముఖ్య అతిథిగా వస్తుంటారు. అండ్ నాకు ఒక అదృష్టం ఏంటంటే 2006లో నేను తామా సిల్వర్ జూబ్లీ సెలబ్రేషన్స్ చేసినప్పుడు నేను తామా ప్రెసిడెంట్గా వారిని గ్వినెట్ సివిక్ సెంటర్లో ఒక బిజినెస్ సెమినార్ నిర్వహించాము. 500 మందికి పైగా అటెండ్ అయిన సెమినార్ చాలా అద్భుతంగా జరిగింది. Complete credit goes to Dr. Jagdish Sheth. It was an excellent business seminar. అప్పటి నుంచి అతనికి నేను ఫ్యాన్. అతని ఏ ప్రోగ్రామ్స్ అయినా నేను చూస్తూ ఉంటాను. అండ్ అట్లాంటాలోనే కాకుండా అమెరికా వ్యాప్తంగా అన్ని సిటీస్లో వారు సెమినార్స్ ఇవ్వడం జరిగింది. అట్లాగే వరల్డ్ వైడ్ దాదాపు ప్రతి కంట్రీలో తన్ని ఇన్వైట్ చేస్తారు గెస్ట్ స్పీకర్గా వెళ్ళి, చాలా అద్భుతంగా మాట్లాడతారు. అండ్ ఈరోజు మన శంకర నేత్రాలయ వేదికపై అతను గ్రోయింగ్ ఇంపార్టెన్స్ ఆఫ్ ఇండియా ఇన్ ద న్యూ వరల్డ్ ఆర్డర్ అనే సబ్జెక్ట్ మీద మాట్లాడతారు. ఆ తర్వాత మన ప్యానెల్ సభ్యులు వారిని ప్రశ్నలు అడుగుతారు.
డాక్టర్ జగదీష్ గారు, మనం ముందుగా ఎంపిక చేసుకున్న ఈనాటి అంశం అభివృద్ధి దిశలో భారతదేశం ప్రపంచ చరిత్రలో ఓ నూతన అధ్యాయం. ఈ విషయంపై మీ యొక్క సుదీర్ఘ పరిశోధన, అనుభవాలు, సూచనలు మా ప్రేక్షకులకి అదేవిధంగా మా ప్యానల్ సభ్యులకి తెలియజేస్తారా?
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a great organization. It's one of the very well-respected organizations as an NGO, non-government organization, and has a worldwide reputation that makes India proud. That in a country like India, with all the needs, people can actually get help, which is both affordable, accessible, and at the same time, state-of-the-art. My topic today is quite apropos to the mission of the organization. As you know, this year is the G20 summit hosted by India. And there are delegates after delegates coming in different fields, not just education or economics or diplomacy, but also in healthcare. And I think the two nations get together in some fashion, especially the United States and America and India, are going to transform quite a lot of things happening in the world. Although in G20, as you know, India is basically creating relationships or maintaining and expanding the relationship with G20 nations, from Indonesia on the one hand to Britain or the UK on the other hand, and surprisingly to Russia at the same time. It just goes on. The ecosystem is very fascinating to watch. So this fits into that theme. Title of my presentation actually is Growing Importance of India in the New World Order. So I will talk about the old world order as of 1987, things that have happened over time, and how India is becoming more strategic to the world, not just because of its markets, but because of a whole geopolitics that's changing. And what can India do to gain a real comparative advantage in the process? So I have a 10-point recommendation about what India can do to solidify its position going into the 21st century further. So the topic is Growing Importance of India in the New World Order, as Bala mentioned. So please show the first slide. My own view is that the trilateral relationship between these three nations is going to make all the difference, not the bilateral relationship. And in a trilateral relationship, you always have the opportunity to form a coalition of two nations against a third, or harmonious relationship among all the nations for the world harmony, world economy, and world peace. The world was stable after World War II. There was a very clear balance of power between communism and capitalism. There were two big ideologies sort of competing or rivaling against each other. The Cold War was a common front. So what has happened since 1987? The first major event is collapse of communism. So this is the new world order. Out of nowhere, we see a new triad power consisting of United States continuing the journey. Europe is relegated in the process. Japan is relegated in the process. And now we have the India, China, America as the new triad power. So here are the numbers. If you take the 2022 data which are available, the top 10 economies of the world using purchasing power parity as a measure, which I like better because it is not subject to the fluctuations of the currencies, etc. It is really comparable, buying power essentially, because in advanced countries, services will be very expensive, whereas in emerging economies, services will be cheaper. In advanced countries, the physical products like the automobiles or the appliances may be cheaper, which may be more expensive, but it balances out. And based on that, when you calculate the GDP, China is already $30 trillion. United States is $25 trillion, number two now already. India is $11.67 trillion, but we think India is underrepresented by about $3 to $4 trillion because of the very strong cash economy. It's just not counted as that properly. So So India is very large, and then you see a sudden drop in everything else. Why India is destined to become strategic globally? Surprisingly, in this trilateral relationship, China considers India to be a very strategic challenger or a strategic partner with somebody, and would like to slow down India in terms of its growth and evolution under the current policies that we have in India. US, of course, needs India more today than probably India needs US. So here are the ingredients that I've identified, and there could be more. Big consumer market is a very important way of shaping the future. Because everything is driven, politics are driven by economics more and more than by ideology or activism. My own recommendation is that India has to move from a restricted domestic economy, which is how the constitution was built, which is how the license Raj was formed, planned social economy essentially, to more and more integrated global economy. Free flow of products, free flow of capital, free flow of information, and free flow of people. India becomes globally integrated. And then basically from a low tech to a high tech. So how India can become strategic globally? First and most important recommendation is we must embrace global standards and global benchmarks for domestic products and services. No such thing as export quality versus domestic quality. Speed up the digital infrastructure. While we have done enormous improvement in this one, we are still not there. We still have a huge economy which is still non-digitized. All government bureaus are getting digitized, but I'm talking about everything in life we do. Can we have a digital architecture, and government can create one to reach the rural population? Of course, Aadhaar as a platform is a great platform. Can it be used like an internet highway as an application platform? Of course, we have now very much the UPI we created as a standard. Can we take it global, for example, etc.? Anything we do to speed up digital infrastructure in a traditional physical environment. Next one is very interesting recommendation. We must mandate, not just optional, management education for diplomats, military and state enterprises. And the last one is very important. Deepen diplomatic relationship with G20 nations as we are hosting right now. But these relationships are not just professional, because diplomats transition every 3 years from one location to the other. But can you also have a personal relationship or friendship after you retire or after you are relocated? And in that regard, we are basically brand ambassadors. And Prime Minister Modi becomes one of the best brand ambassadors for India because he's equally comfortable with Putin on the one hand, Angela Merkel when she was the Chancellor of Germany, or Macron, for example, in France, or Biden on the one hand, Trump on the other hand, and Obama on the third hand. I mean, these are three different people with three different backgrounds and ideologies. And if you are totally comfortable with all of them, it says that you are able to rise above and beyond your own views in some fashion to be a global ambassador. So let me conclude. There is a new geopolitical order. The traditional leaders and institutions are struggling to maintain world order. This has generated opportunity for new leadership. And as I mentioned, repositioning India from a restricted domestic economy to a globally integrated economy, and from a low-tech nation to a high-tech nation. I mean, this was done by Korea in 35 years. Taiwan did it in 20 years. We can do it even faster, given new technologies that are available, so affordable. That's mind-boggling how quickly one can transform the nation today within 14, 15 years. We are a totally different nation than what it used to be before. And still preserve the good things, our culture, our ancient wisdom, etc. one can do. So the 10-point recommendations. that are made in this presentation will ensure India's strategic place in the new world order. Thank you very much.
ధన్యవాదాలండి డాక్టర్ జగదీష్ షెట్ గారు. ఎంతో విపులంగా గణాంక వివరాలతో సహా సంపూర్ణమైనటువంటి సమాచారాన్ని అందించారు. మరొక్కసారి మీకు ధన్యవాదాలు తెలియజేస్తూ మా ప్యానెల్ సభ్యుల స్పందన, వారి ప్రశ్నలతో ఈ కార్యక్రమంలోకి ముందుకు సాగుదాం. ముందుగా ఎస్వి ఆచార్య గారు, ఈనాటి కార్యక్రమంపై మీ స్పందన తెలియజేస్తారా?
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Dr. Sheth, for a very impressive presentation on growing importance of India in the New World Order. You provided a wealth of information that some of us did not know. It's kind of a very changing world today. What once was Japan was one of the most important countries, now getting lesser importance, and China is on the top, and maybe in 20 years it will be something different. A couple of weeks ago, Bala mentioned to me about your presentation, today's presentation, and I heard about you, and I made some Google research on your background just to know about you. I was very impressed to hear about that, read what I saw there. You're a professor at Emory University, you're a double doctorate from state of Illinois, from the University of Illinois, and they're from University of Pittsburgh. You also made significant contribution in the academic and philanthropic work. Under the umbrella of Jagdish and Madhuri Sheth Foundation, you made significant philanthropic work to serve the humanity. You donated to CARE, UNICEF, Habitat for Humanity, and a number of organizations across the country. For your outstanding work, you are awarded the most prestigious award of Padma Bhushan by the government of India. Namaste. We are all proud of you as a fellow Indian. I feel you are proud of yourself. Let me say a few words about Sankara Nethralaya USA, Sankara Nethralaya, and our organization here. Sankara Nethralaya was established by Dr. Padma Bhushan, S.S. Badrinath, in 1978. He finished his education, ophthalmic specialization in US, went back to India, and he started his practice. Then he happened to go through one of the lectures of Pontiff of Kanchi Kamakoti Peetham, where the Pontiff said, whatever you do in life, do with the missionary spirit. So that impressed upon him. Then he started a small hospital with a few beds. The objective was to make something with a missionary spirit. His objective was this: provide world-class ophthalmic services free to the poor and at affordable price to others. He had a three-pronged approach: provide hospital care, ophthalmic education, ophthalmic research. And also, in addition, he also provided eye camp, school screening. Also, they recently started what's known as mobile eye surgical camps. These are operation theaters on wheels. They comprise of two buses, one as operation theater, other as the preparation unit. They go to villages, stay there for about 2 weeks. They test the patients, perform cataract surgeries, and after post-operative treatment, they come back to the main campus. These go to the villages where those patients have no means of coming back to their main hospital in the city. They don't have the money or the know-how or the connections. And a number of our trustees have sponsored such camps. They have made more than 125 camps so far. And also now Sankara Nethralaya is serving people in Tamil Nadu, Jharkhand, West Bengal, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, and Karnataka state. On a daily basis, They treat 3,000 outpatients, perform 300 surgeries, almost half of them free on poor people. This is what they are doing. And our organization here, Sankara Nethralaya USA, was established in 1988. Sole purpose is simple. We collect as much money as possible, spend as little as possible, send all the money back to India to help them provide free service on poor people. That's the only objective. Our overhead is less than 3%, which means more than 95% money goes back to India to treat poor people. Sankara Nethralaya was named as one of the best 100 hospitals in the world by Newsweek magazine. Our organization here, Sankara Nethralaya USA, was named as was given a 4-star, the highest ranking of 4-star by Charity Navigator for our financial accountability and fiscal transparency in this organization. And I want all the viewers of this today's program to support our cause, and for more information, visit us at www.sankaranethralayaUSA.org. This is about our organization. Now, about question to Dr. Sheth, I would like to request you, what is your advice for today's youngsters to create a better future society?
My own message is the same. Giving back is absolutely a requirement because you are so privileged. If you go to college, you are one of the very few percentages of the population. You are privileged. Your family nurtured you, your community nurtured you, your school nurtured you. You must give back as soon as you graduate, not when you retire. Time, treasure, and talent. And these people are rising to the occasion. So I'm more optimistic despite the change in culture. Our outside appearance is that they're so westernized, they're forgetting our Indian values. But inside, I think they're still very much involved in terms of serving the society.
ధన్యవాదాలండి ఆచార్య గారు. డాక్టర్ గిరీష్ రావు గారు, మీ స్పందన తెలియజేస్తారా?
Good morning, sir, and greetings from Chennai, India. It was nice listening to you. I think we have spent the last couple of years listening to a lot of talks, seminars, and webinars on COVID and diabetes and glaucoma. So listening to you on the economic front was quite refreshing, and also happy to note that India has made a niche for itself under the current leadership, and hopefully we should be doing much better. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank SNUSA, like what Mr. Acharya has said, for the excellent support that we have been getting for the past so many years. And just as you said that the youth of today are very focused and they have inculcated the spirit of giving, I would like to highlight that the SNUSA has this program of music concerts running throughout the year, and a significant portion of that is done by young artists, college-going and school-going children who have contributed their time to raise funds for Sankara Nethralaya. So I think we are very optimistic about the future generation. And if I may ask you a question, you raised a very important point about how India could do a lot more in terms of research and how we seem to be lacking, though we do have the talent. And that's very amply put forward by the kind of engineers and digital experts that we have. I just wanted to know, what would it take for the government to allocate more funds into research and healthcare in India? This seems to be always in the back. It's never in the forefront. So what would it take for the government to, at some point, bring that also into mainstream?
Let me answer in a broader way first and then come to very specifics. I think the governments have to realize that the real resource or asset is the humans. And therefore investing in humans at a very young, early age toward a curriculum that is not just know why. We do a very good job about giving people theories and frameworks, but we don't invest enough in know-how. Somehow know-how, things of hands are considered not good enough. We do not respect talent, or we do not respect labor. I think if we can remove that attitude from the public through information, education, propaganda, that a truck driver matters as much as a professor. Who said professor is superior and truck driver is inferior? So greater equality among different occupations is one thing government can do, not just by laws, but by just education. So one key area is investing in vocational technical education, certifying every job to be certified, including janitorial services, which is what Germany does. Doesn't matter any occupation, you have a minimum training and a language. Singapore does a good job, by the way. Singapore has a law that says every employer has to contribute money on the side, just like we have the CSR money, they have a training money, and the employees must be constantly trained and upgraded. So we are constantly lifelong learners. This notion of having a degree at the end and then practicing or using it is obsolete. You have to constantly learn. Governments can encourage lifelong learning as a phenomenon, maybe contribute money toward that, or however they do it.
Thanks, Andy, Dr. Girish Rao garu. Next to Dr. Raj Modi garu, your response, please.
Dr. Sheth, it was a very great presentation and we learned a lot of things new. I have a question. In addition to helping Sankara Nethralaya and some other organizations in here, USA, what we can do here in USA and for India? Can you please say in few words?
I think there are three things that we can do. One, increasing the awareness of the kinds of charitable work or mission-driven work we do in India to the non-Indian population. I think Indian diaspora may be okay, we can increase the awareness, but non-Indian population in America, for example, or in Canada, or in UK, or in Dubai, is not aware at all. There's a lack of awareness. I mean, Sankara Nethralaya does kinds of things that would have not been possible even in their mind, that country can be so advanced on the one hand, even though it is basically an emerging economy on the other hand. Because they still have this image of a country of roaming cows and snake charmers, which is still there maybe, but you can also have the most modern technology and brilliant people who can do cataract. I mean, cataract alone, India is the largest market. And if you talk to Bausch & Lomb, which makes the lenses, this is the market that we talk about quite a lot. And people, mainstream people in the countries where we have settled do not know. So I'm a very strong advocate that our Indian leaders and community leaders like yourself, who actually deal with patients of non-Indian origin, how can we increase the awareness of the kinds of things in the NGO world or in the healthcare domain we do? They're surprised, I must tell you, in many, many activities there. Then I'm involved in several charities. So that's one recommendation.
Thank you, Dr. Raj Modi. Bhanumati Ramakrishnan ji, మీ స్పందన అదే విధంగా మీ ప్రశ్నలు ఏమైనా ఉంటే అడుగుతారా?
I wanted to thank you for speaking in our platform, Sankara Nethralaya. This is really wonderful. I have never heard anybody explaining the whole thing, how the India, after the independence, that's where you started it in true sense, to become a global powerhouse now. Issue with sometimes, I travel these days often to India 2 or 3 times the past couple, during the COVID time, we did not travel at all. We stayed home. So now I am traveling it. I am feeling whenever I go there, these days, I am seeing people don't have a pride. They have so much knowledge. They are so smart, but they don't think that at all. They are smart. And but whatever they do, majority of the things, if you see made in India, there is no pride in what they do. So how can you give us an idea what anyone can help, even if public like us can help them out, feeling the pride in what they do? That would go a long way too, for them to have a better India too. It's getting a lot better than 1960s to now, but it can go higher. It is a potential to go really high. So is there anything you can shed some light on how to make people feel pride in their work?
No, it's a great question, by the way, and you are so right. We still have, because of the legacy, being a colonial entity at one time, we always had the notion that made in India are inferior products. Quality assurance is not there. There may be adulteration, etc. All the stuff. And we, of course, still have quite a lot. 60% of consumption in India is unbranded products and sold through informal channels in many ways. So the first thing is what I recommended. Best way to create pride is to make products in India by Indian companies or anybody to the highest level possible worldwide. Quality standards. And let me tell you, I'm quite impressed actually. I look at the positive side compared to where I came from. In my days, of course, telephone was 7 years wait. Bajaj scooter was 7 years, We could not get under license Raj anything. And today you see the choices, but packaging in India is absolutely mind-boggling. All of our wedding cards in America, as you know, are all made in India. Nobody can make wedding cards like what we do. It's just interesting. But at the same time, you see quality assurance not there. There was some award given to me, and it was a handcrafted something. The workmanship was not right. It was not engineered well. So how can you think about putting the quality assurance, which is how Japanese did, from a low quality to high quality, making it, and it can be done by policy, by man. That's clearly one. Anything that does happen by an Indian brand in India or worldwide, actually Indians take pride. I've seen that thing. They talk about it. So they need some reason to talk about it, right? Primarily. And there are many, many brands in India that are highly respected by Indians, like Amul, in the case of milk and dairy products, serving the farmers, milk cooperatives in general. There are products very well done in terms of IT services. Aadhaar platform, people think it's mind-boggling that is so advanced in biometric identification. I think partly that. Partly, I think our young generation, especially in America, is not as made as aware. So if there was some channel that talks about products made in India, not culture alone. As I said, one way to create soft power is really through brands countries produce. The brand names matter. People think about the brands as a nation representatives, just like diplomats are nation representatives. So to me, if there was a channel that actually goes worldwide, especially in the Indian diaspora, and talks about the origin of the brand, the product, how it came about, how it is world standard, people all over the world admire. Now we get some reputation like that for our pickles, I must tell you, clearly. Many Western countries are now in love with Indian pickles, more spicy. But still, I do agree. I think part of the problem is we have not invested in quality. And the other part, of course, is that there's a lack of awareness. So if you can manage those two, I think one can take a pride very easily. Some of the movies, people are taking pride now, you know, some of the programs, so it can happen.
Thank you so much. And then I wanted to also say, since it is a Sankara Nethralaya program, whoever is watching it, please do donate. Go to our Sankara Nethralaya, www.sankaranethralaya.org website and donate generously.
Thank you both. శ్రీనివాస్ వంగిమల గారు, ఈ కార్యక్రమంపై మీ అభిప్రాయం, అదే విధంగా మీకు ఏమైనా ప్రశ్నలు ఉంటే అడుగుతారా?
Greetings, Dr. Jag Sheth, Acharya ji, Dr. Girish Rao, President Bala, and the rest of the panelists. It's really a privilege to be in this discussion with Dr. Sheth today. So it's very impressive. India made a huge progress, especially based on the stats. India is the top 3 economy based on the purchasing parity today, especially since 90s. In the last 3 decades, India made huge progress to compete with the world powers. At the same time, there is huge gap between wealthy and the lower middle class people, especially when it comes to access to good healthcare, awareness. I can say this because I was part of 2 MESU camps that Sankara Nethralaya conducted at our village. MESU is basically mobilized surgical unit. This is a hospital on the wheels that goes to the remote villages and help screen people and provide cataract surgeries and provide the awareness about eye care and other stuff. So there is huge gap. So though India is growing so fastly, but there is a huge need for NGO organizations like Sankara Nethralaya to fill this gap. I would like to hear your comments, Dr. Sheth, on this need and how we all as NRIs can help and be plugged in and fill this gap.
Yeah. First of all, you're absolutely right. The gap is there and the gap is increasing, unfortunately, where the wealthy people or more affluent people are able to get better care and the middle class is staying the same. So again, there are several suggestions. One suggestion is to include healthcare in the school systems itself. In other words, in the school system, we have education, but education and health must go together. So the next generation of young people already have a mindset of preventative things as opposed to curative or correcting things afterwards. How do I prevent? By getting better habits in general, you know? Especially not the poor, but the middle class. It is happening with hygiene right now in a big way, for example. And so many educational institutions are saying that education by itself is not enough. Health platforms that go with it are very important. So whether it's Ekal Vidyalaya, for example, or meals programs that Akshay Patra does, for example, you know, then Pratham does in education assessment. So we have those organizations are rethinking that their mission is more than just education, it is more the well-being of a human being primarily. That will come some time before it gets ramped up in terms of its outcome.
Thank you for your feedback.
Thanks and Srinivas garu. Next Dr. Jaisimha Sunku garu, Colorado నుంచి అటెండ్ అవుతున్నారు. జయసింహ సుంకు గారు, జగదీష్ గారి ప్రసంగంపై మీ స్పందన తెలియజేస్తారా?
Greetings from colorful Colorado. Thank you, Dr. Jagdish Sheth. That's a wonderful, wonderful, enlightening talk you gave us. You made us look at very different things than what we were thinking before. And that was very enlightening. And also, Acharyaji, you know, eloquently said very well about our Sankara Nethralaya organization. We are very thrilled and privileged to be part of this wonderful organization. As Bhanu Garu said, we definitely want every single one of person in United States to be aware of this wonderful organization, to be part of it, to contribute any which way they can, directly or indirectly. My question to you, sir, I think you touched many points and, a lot of this panel asked wonderful questions. My main question is, there's a lot of things going on in the political arena when it comes to back in India. The reason what I'm asking you is, especially coming from the southern states, politics became money. Money becomes politics. That's what people are coming. A lot of intelligent people, like, some of our panelists said, they're trying to run away from the politics. And, I see the difference in certain parts of northern India, like in Gujarat, in UP and other places, things are moving a little differently. But in southern states, it's staying the same way. And when it comes to United States, like you said, the Indian diaspora is wonderful. I mean, we are like 1 in 7 in the global population, but when we really look at it, we are not in 1 in 7 in many ways, including in politics, And I see the Samosa caucus, what they proudly say in India, in United States Congress, where only 5 of us, and there are no senators in the United States, So a lot of people, I mean, from Indian origin. So how do we encourage people of younger age? I know we are entrepreneurs, we are thinking differently. And like you said, we are one of the main positive things. So it is, yes, we can, How do we change our attitude? How do we bring that political awareness so that our participation can really make an impact globally in many different ways? Because United States is the most charitable organization. People know that. But at the same time, Indian hearts are the most charitable when you really look at it. It's been incorporated, embedded, and in our culture, when it comes to many ways, we'd like to give to people. And we can only do that when we are powerful. Our presence is felt politically in the world, How do we change that? Thank you.
Yeah. Well, it's a great question. Again, I'm quite pleasantly surprised that the next generation of young people of Indian origin born here in America, let's say, or even in India for that matter, are very much interested in getting active in politics and without being corrupted, interestingly, which is very fascinating. I mean, so we see in the US especially, there's a significant interest at the city council level, mayor's race, for example, not just in the Indian concentrated diaspora, like Jersey City, for example, or, in California, a couple of places, but getting into more and more national politics. Congress in the US, but member of parliament. I am approached by at least half a dozen or more aspiring young people who are of Indian origin saying that I'm running for this because of this reason or this cause. Can you support me? So I'm getting more aware about this one, that there is things happening. They're not in the main newspapers yet, so we are not main, but it's happening. And some of the Indian diaspora magazines or online things reveal those sometimes. So I think this, so I'm again getting much more optimistic. Some states will be more than others. Okay, I must tell you. But it is happening, which is good sign. In other words, they want to become lawyers and then go into the politics in some fashion. So, and they have certain agendas in their mind that by being inside the tent, they will be make more difference. As we have seen, I mean, Ro Khanna single-handedly under the last Congress got the $55 billion of semiconductor industry. He was the co-author of the bill, House side and the Senate side. To me, remarkable for a congressman who is on his third term. The congressman from Chicago, Raja, for example. I mean, brilliant medical doctor, but at the same time, very passionate what he does. I take pride in them, you see, ultimately, that we do have people of that caliber who are doing so well. They're respected by their Congress colleagues, for example. They know how to cross the aisle properly. So I'm, again, maybe by nature, I'm optimistic. I don't know, but I'm optimistic, okay?
The next one is, I think, Meher Lanka garu. మీ స్పందన తెలియజేస్తారు.
Thank you very much, Shyam Garu. And thank you, Dr. Jagdish Sheth, for passionately sharing the growing importance of India in the New World Order. Your 10-pronged suggestions on how India could become strategic globally are very insightful. I have read several articles in various periodicals and journals, but they have not given a comprehensive view altogether encapsulated so well in one short presentation of 30-35 minutes. And I think those suggestions should be pursued vigorously by not just the leaders in power in India, but also by every enterprise, institution, and individual, especially because you brought it to our attention that the purchasing power parity in India is over between 11 and 12 trillion dollars. That was an eye-opener. And we should leverage that and encourage them to give back to the community, including charity. So a message to the viewers. We believe you enjoyed the presentation of Padma Bhushan Dr. Jagdish Sheth. I'm now appealing to you to please give back to your community by donating generously at www.sankaranethralaya.org and provide the gift of vision to the needy in India. Thank you.
తర్వాత ఉపేంద్ర రాజ్పల్ గారు మీ స్పందన అదే విధంగా మీ ప్రశ్నలు అడుగుతారా?
Thank you, Dr. Jag Sheth, for a very informative session.
Thank you.
I've browsed through some of your books that you have written, like Self-Destructive Habits of Good Companies, as well as relationship marketing. Those are very informative and also very motivational for the corporate leaders. And I'm sure that they immensely helped to improve their business as well as going down in their business, right? So my question is, do you have any such books? The important part of this non-profit organization is motivating the volunteers to get the donors, right? So do you have any books that is already published from that aspect? And also, if not, right, I kindly request you to put together a 25-page book with 10 sessions you gave to India, right? Similarly, what we can distribute to all the volunteers, who are joining not only Sankara Nethralaya, but there are different non-profit organizations. Since you have got wide knowledge of how to motivate the corporate leaders, we need to motivate the volunteers to get this lot of donations. So that could be an immense help if you have written that kind of books. Or if not, if you can spend some time to write these books and give it for free for all the non-profit organizations.
I think it's an excellent suggestion. I have not written the book from that perspective, although there are things I have written about volunteers in general and how to motivate them, but they're not put together. And thanks for suggesting this. I may take this as an opportunity to do something in this area. There is a book which has become quite a platform almost called the Forms of Endearment, like a Terms of Endearment movie. And that talks about how world-class companies do things out of passion and purpose. So there are a couple of things that work very well. There's a book called Purpose Driven Life. Started in the Christian faith, but it's a very popular book, very common. I think that book has some good messages for volunteer force. It's bestseller. 56 million copies have been sold worldwide. And so, but I think you are right. With our context, especially with Indian background and culture and everything, I think one can link something which will be unique and different in some fashion, and appeal to our people in some fashion. So I hope to take
like
it.
a simplified message, not like, too broad. Just a simplified message at a high level, so that we can just give it to a volunteer who is just joining this organization, or like distribute it across different volunteers in India who wants to do this service, as well as to get the donors.
Excellent point. I would recommend send me a separate email as a reminder to see if I can front burner and make it sooner than later. But great idea. Thank you for the suggestion.
Narayan Reddy Indurti garu, మీ స్పందన కూడా తెలియజేస్తారా?
Thank you, Shamgar. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us and giving your input, Dr. Jagdish Sheth garu. And it is really a very helpful session and very informative, and it helps us to move forward in service with Sankara Nethralaya. And the question is from my side is earlier, like you mentioned, like bring like awareness to other countries, like spread not just India. So any technique or suggestion how we can basically get the help from or awareness from other countries, or like how we can spread or like get help from like other countries, and also bring this to a next level to the in the corporate world, like United Way, all in the so any kind of like suggestions you give us to like take the Sankara Nethralaya to that level?
No, I think this is very possible, and thanks for that question. One thing would be relatively simple, is to create a YouTube channel of your own, where through video power of the video communication, actually demonstrate what Sankara Nethralaya does actually, not just in terms of the patient welfare, but the quality of doctors that you get, also the volunteers who come to help you out, I think there's a whole story, how it began. People resonate that, but having your own dedicated channel on which then you can have more people come in, watch it, add content even for that matter. I think I've become much more aware of YouTube's power. It's very doable at the same time. Platform is already there. And the question of committing, you have to become content creator essentially. That's clearly one idea. The second one is to have some sort of a campaign or visiting to key influencers who are in this business, and they take the responsibility of promoting, increasing awareness, because they have followers who have the same belief system, mission they think will fit very well. So influencer marketing is becoming very important, very popular. The third one is having a corporate sponsor actually promote the idea. There are corporate sponsors, but they promote the idea in many ways, especially among their employees. In India, corporations already have a CSR money anyhow, but they have not thought about volunteerism, especially related to the eye issue, how big it is, and just having the employees themselves having problems. And these problems are, when we see the patient in Sankara Nethralaya, we know there are workers someplace also. They're working in the factories, they're working in the service companies, whatever they're doing. I'm talking about the lower middle class people. But I think having within a corporation, right now, as you know, most corporations are now having wellness programs, even funded by them. My university actually has a whole program about how we can motivate people to walk more, because all of us sit down all the time. How can we become active in terms of, yoga, for example? I think we can have this idea about eye care, vision, and how critical it is as one organ or one sense, and promoting that within the corporate communication, because you'll reach more people very quickly. Because corporations have get-togethers. They have a dissemination mechanisms. Our job is to provide the content to them, and so long as we can do that thing, that will work very well. Some of them are pretty low cost, actually. They don't cost much. It's a question of having dedicated staff people who can reach them. And as I said again, the bureaucrats are very important, not the politicians. The bureaucrats are very important. And if you can get their cooperation, and they will open up the doors for you quite a lot too. So those are the ideas that come in my mind right now.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you very much for your valuable suggestions and joining us today. Thank you very much.
ధన్యవాదాలండి. ఇక ఈ కార్యక్రమాన్ని ముగించే ముందు బాలగారు మీ ముగింపు వాక్యాలతో ఈ కార్యక్రమాన్ని ముగిస్తారా? థ్యాంక్స్ అండి.
Thank you very much, Shyam, for hosting the show today. This is a great show. You did excellent job. And I have no words to say thanks to Dr. Jag Sheth. You created very captivating environment. Conversation was very good. I did not know our panel member have this many questions for you. And like I said in the beginning, you always keep the smile and you speak and you answer. And, that is one of the reasons why you are so special, not only in America, in all over the world. So, thank you. And we'll definitely, when we do our next in-person event in Atlanta or any other city, we will invite you as our chief guest. And we need your support and blessings. And thanks to all panel members. And thank you all.